Hello, everybody, and welcome to Body Smart. I want to thank you for joining the Keeping Runners on the Road series. I'm really excited about this today. What we're going to talk about is how breakdowns in running form lead to your running injuries. And so there are three main kind of steps that lead to that. And so let's dive into that in just a second. First off, thank you so much for joining us and for following us over the past couple of days with our Keeping Runners on the Road series. If you want to continue to follow, go ahead and drop your name in the comments down below. Say I'm in, and we'll make sure we continue to keep you included in these videos so that we can make sure that you get some of these latest, greatest tips on running and how to avoid injury and problems so that you can keep running without problems. All right, so how to keep from, or how these breakdowns in our running form lead to injury. So that's a big thing runners talk about is form and what's the right form and all these things. But why does form matter? And what is correct form and all those things. Today I want to talk to you about why form matters. Form is an important thing because mechanically, if our form isn't spot on for our body, and so form may vary a little bit from person to person, depending on our personal physiological adaptation. So it really does take a close eye of looking at your body and seeing what's going to be best for you. But form, if our form is off for our anatomy, it leads to increased stress. So stress on some joint or some muscle, some tendon or ligament. And so with that increased stress on those joints, what happens is we start to compensate then. So we start to use some other structure to keep moving, to keep running, and to essentially do the job of that feature that we're overstressing. And so once we start compensating, we find that we get kind of this overuse problem. And so then the stress and the compensation lead to the third factor, and that is pain in the weakest link. So whatever was the least fit prior to exercise or the least fit winds up becoming kind of our weakest link and then is the most easily injured. And so whether that's in your foot, whether that's in your knee or in your hip or your low back, some of the most common places we see things, that's where you're going to feel the pain. And so breakdown in form leads to those injuries through those three steps. First, overstressing or overuse, to which we compensate and continue a strategy of overuse, and then pain in the weakest link. And so it's not always easy because of that kind of cascade. It's not always easy to just say, oh, it's this. You just need a new pair of shoes, or you need this or that, which may be the factor, but it's often that compensation, kind of that middle piece of the stress is the real cause. The compensation is what we do to match that stress, and then we get pain in the weakest link. And so we may take it from pain in the weakest link back to the compensation, and we may never fix what was causing the original stress in the first place. And I see that really often in runners, that they don't get down to the real root of the problem. They just do something that masks the compensation. So shoe orthotics are sometimes one of those things where we'll do something that helps to for the compensation of the actual stress, but we don't always address the stress in the first place. And so that's why it's important to often get an evaluation from somebody that's an expert in movement. A physical therapist is a great option. I know I'm kind of biased in that direction, but I truly believe that having a true motion analysis from an expert in motion is really critical to make sure that we're not just putting a Band-Aid on the compensation, that we're actually getting down to the stress and what's causing that initial reason why we're compensating for the initial problem. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that is helpful in kind of reframing why you may have an injury and what you can do to help prevent an injury. But remember that it's a stress that we compensate for that causes pain in the weakest link. And so we got to make sure we get back to solving the stressor problem. If you have any questions about that, or think that you have maybe something that you're just putting a Band-Aid on, let us know. Drop that in the comments down below so that we can make sure that you are taking some of the right steps to resolve that. Again, thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and continue following us here with the Body Smart Keeping Runners on the Road series. and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.